Déjà vu. It's something we all feel at least once in our lives, a strange sense that we've lived a moment before. But what if that feeling wasn't just in your head? What if it was trying to warn you? Tonight, we're diving into 3 real stories of people who brushed off déjà vu, only to realize too late they should have listened. It was past 1 a.m. when Travis pulled into the dimly lit gas station just off I-44, somewhere between St. Louis and Springfield. The highway had been dead quiet for nearly an hour, and his eyelids were beginning to droop when he saw the flickering sign, "Quick Stop, 24 hours." He needed gas, but more than that, he needed to stretch his legs and maybe grab a coffee to stay awake for the last leg of the drive. As he stepped out of the car, a wave of something strange washed over him. Déjà vu. He froze, the cracked concrete underfoot, the neon ATM inside sign blinking red through the dusty window, the dented soda machine humming near the door. It all looked identical to something he'd already seen, only he had no memory of ever stopping here before. Then came a memory, or at least what felt like one. A sudden flash in his mind, him standing inside this same gas station, but it was drenched in red light, and he wasn't alone. There was a man, pale, thin, wearing a tattered hoodie, just standing at the far end of the aisle, not moving, watching him. Travis shook his head. "Get a grip," he muttered. "Just highway exhaustion. Maybe something his brain cobbled together from a dream." He walked inside. The place was empty, no cashier, no customers. The soft buzz of fluorescent lights filled the air like static. Travis stepped toward the counter, still glancing over his shoulder every few seconds, that déjà vu tightening in his chest like a fist. Then, footsteps, not his, from the back aisle. He spun around. Nothing. "Hello," he called out, voice echoing far more than it should have in such a small building. Silence. Then, a whisper. It wasn't clear, almost like wind sneaking in through a cracked window, but it was enough to raise the hairs on the back of his neck. He backed away from the counter, hands slightly raised now, eyes darting. Just then, from behind the shelf near the freezer aisle, a pale face leaned out, staring directly at him. No expression, no blink. Travis stumbled backward. "Okay, man, you got me. Funny prank, cool," he said, trying to laugh, but it came out strained and hollow. The figure didn't move, and in a second it was gone. He didn't see it run. It didn't duck or retreat. It just wasn't there anymore. Travis turned and bolted. He didn't stop running until he was back in the car, locking the doors and flooring the gas pedal out of that empty parking lot. As the station lights faded in his rearview mirror, he gripped the wheel tighter. He kept thinking of the déjà vu, how clear it had been, like a warning he ignored. He never found that gas station again. Not on Google Maps, not on future drives, not even by description. It was like it had never existed. But deep down, he knew what he saw. And he knew. Whatever was in that station had been waiting for him. In the summer of 2013, Kelsey and her cousin Tyler decided to spend a few days at their grandparents' old lake house in Vermont. The place had been in their family for generations, tucked away deep in the forest by a glassy lake surrounded by thick pine trees. They'd grown up visiting it, swimming in the summer and roasting marshmallows on the dock, but this time it felt different. The moment they arrived, Kelsey had that same uncanny sensation, a tightness in her chest, and a strange familiarity she couldn't explain. The way the wind moved through the trees, the specific way the screen door creaked open, even the dust pattern on the living room floor looked remembered. Tyler noticed it too. "This is gonna sound weird," he said the first night, "but I feel like we've already done this. Like this exact trip. Like we've already been here." Kelsey nodded slowly. "I feel it too. I just didn't want to say anything." That night, things turned eerie. Around 2:30 a.m., Kelsey woke up suddenly, heart pounding, chest tight. The lake house was dead quiet, but her room was filled with pale blue light. She thought maybe it was just moonlight through the curtains, until she turned her head and saw the bedroom door wide open. She always locked it. Footsteps echoed on the wooden hallway floor, slow, careful, not Tyler's. She knew his gait. These sounded deliberate, as if someone was watching where they stepped. She sat up. The footsteps stopped. "Kelsey," her name, whispered, just outside the room. The voice was off. It sounded like Tyler, but it had a strange distortion to it, lagging, like an audio recording glitching. She stepped quietly out of bed and approached the door, peering into the dark hallway. No one was there. Then, from the end of the hallway, where the staircase curved down to the main floor, she saw herself, standing at the bottom of the stairs. Same pajamas, same posture, same face, just watching. Kelsey gasped, slamming the door shut and locking it again. The next morning, she asked Tyler if anything weird had happened. He looked shaken. "I had a dream last night," he said. "You were downstairs. And then there was another you, standing in the doorway. You looked at me, but your eyes were all black. They both packed up and left by noon. The déjà vu was too strong, the doppelganger too real. They never returned to the lake house again. Their grandparents eventually sold it, but sometimes Kelsey still dreams of it. She says it always starts the same way. She's standing at the top of the stairs, looking down, and there's someone at the bottom, watching her, someone who looks just like her. Jason was a long-haul trucker. He'd been driving cross-country routes for nearly a decade, but one particular delivery through rural Arizona still makes his hands tremble. It was June 2019, peak summer. The highway was dry and cracked from the brutal heat, and Jason had just crossed the New Mexico border, heading west toward Flagstaff. He planned to stop for the night at a rest stop he'd used before, a tiny pull-off in the middle of nowhere with 2 vending machines and a single flickering light. It was about 1:15 a.m. when he pulled in. No other trucks were there, which was odd but not unheard of. He parked, climbed into the sleeper cab, and tried to get some rest. About 20 minutes later, he woke up gasping. The cab was freezing cold, despite the desert heat outside. His breath fogged in the air, and there was a high-pitched hum, like a whining noise, that filled the space around him. He sat up. The truck's interior lights were off, but outside, the rest stop was completely different. It looked newer. The vending machines were missing, replaced by a glowing white pillar. There were no streetlights. The surrounding road was perfectly paved, fresh blacktop, and across the street, where there should have been desert and cactus, was a dense forest. Jason blinked, rubbed his eyes. Nope, still there. He climbed out of the cab. The hum got louder. And then, he saw it. A copy of his truck, parked directly across the highway. Same model, same scratches on the side. Even the dent in the front bumper was identical. But the windows were completely blacked out. He stared at it, frozen. Then the driver's door of that truck opened, and he stepped out. Same jeans, same gray t-shirt, same face, but this version of Jason didn't seem confused. He smiled. Not a friendly smile, a cold, knowing one. The doppelganger walked slowly across the road toward him. Jason didn't wait. He sprinted back into his cab, fired up the engine, and peeled off, tires screaming against the cracked asphalt. He drove for miles, ignoring speed limits, signs, even exits, until the humming finally stopped, and the world outside returned to normal. When he finally pulled into a real rest stop around 4 a.m., there were other trucks, vending machines, and no sign of the glowing white pillar. Jason checked his dash cam. Nothing was recorded between 1:15 and 1:58 a.m., just static. When he checked the GPS logs, it showed his truck had never stopped. Jason never took that route again. He doesn't know what version of reality he slipped into, but he's sure of one thing. Whatever that other him was, it wasn't trying to say hello. The summer of 2015 was supposed to be the best time of Emma's life. She had just finished her second year of college and was offered a job as a seasonal caretaker at a remote campground near Crystal Lake in upstate New York. It was surrounded by dense forest and an hour away from the nearest town. Perfect, peaceful, and completely off-grid. Emma arrived in late May. She was the only staff member for the first 2 weeks. Her job was to clean the cabins, prep the fire pits, and check the supply inventory before campers started arriving in June. The first few days were calm, cool mornings, birdsong, and early sunsets that painted the trees red and gold. But on her 5th night, something changed. At around 1:30 a.m., she was woken by the sound of footsteps crunching on the gravel path outside her cabin. She looked out the window. No one. The path was lit by a single lantern nailed to the supply shed, and it was still glowing faintly, but nothing moved. She assumed it was maybe a raccoon or a deer and went back to sleep. The next night, same time. Footsteps again. This time slower, deliberate, and again, no one in sight. By the 3rd night, she was starting to feel scared. That night, she decided to stay up and keep watch. She made coffee, pulled a chair to the window, and sat there, waiting. At exactly 1:31 a.m., she saw it. A figure walked down the gravel path. Slow, silent, tall. Not running, not limping, just walking, like it had all the time in the world. Emma's cabin door was locked. Her phone had no signal. The only weapon she had was a flashlight. She ducked under the window. Her heart was hammering. After a few seconds, curiosity got the better of her, and she peeked again. The figure was gone, but something even worse had appeared. On the glass of her cabin window, written in some sort of ash or dirt, were the words, "Stay out of cabin 12." Emma hadn't cleaned that cabin yet. It was further down the trail, almost buried in trees. The next morning, against her better judgment, she went to check it out. Cabin 12 looked untouched. Dusty, windows fogged from the inside. The door was locked tight, but when she opened it, the smell hit her first, rotting wood and mildew. Inside, the beds were made, but something was off. The mirror on the wall had long fingernail scratches running across it, like someone had clawed at their own reflection. And on the nightstand, under a thick layer of dust, was a faded Polaroid photo. 4 people, all smiling. One of them looked exactly like Emma. Same freckles, same eyes, even the same scar on her wrist from when she broke her arm in 6th grade. But the photo was dated July 1973 and written in small red ink on the back. She came back again. Emma quit the job that day, left everything behind and never returned. She later tried to find any history on Cabin 12, accidents, deaths, anything, but there was no record the cabin ever existed. Even the campground's new website only lists 11. There's something eerie about beach towns after the season ends. The boardwalks go quiet, ice cream shops shutter, the lifeguard chairs are gone, and the waves sound louder, like they're whispering secrets no one's supposed to hear. It was late October when Marcus and his girlfriend Danielle rented a small beach house on the Outer Banks. They'd found a great off-season deal, 3 nights, right by the dunes, with floor-to-ceiling windows facing the ocean. They were both in desperate need of a break. Danielle had just lost her father. Marcus was recovering from a bad motorcycle accident. The ocean, they figured, would be healing. And the first night was perfect. Windy, cold, and quiet. Just how they liked it. But at 3:14 a.m., Marcus woke up, not to a noise, to a presence. Something in the room felt off, like he wasn't alone. The moonlight was flooding in through the glass windows, and silhouetted against the glass, standing inches from the house, was the figure of a man, tall, bald, wearing what looked like a long, wet coat. He wasn't moving, he wasn't even looking in, just standing there, as if he were listening. Marcus shot upright, heart racing. He turned to Danielle, she was sound asleep. When he looked back, the man was gone. He figured it had to be a dream, just his meds messing with him. But he couldn't fall back asleep. The next morning, he found wet footprints on the back deck, barefoot, leading away from the window. He checked the security cam they'd set up outside the front door. Nothing. That afternoon, he went into town to pick up groceries while Danielle stayed behind. When he came back, she was pale and shaking. She told him she'd gone out to the dunes to read. And when she looked back at the house, someone was standing in their bedroom window watching her. A man, bald, wearing a long coat. Marcus rushed inside. No one. The front door had still been locked, but the bedroom window slightly cracked open from the inside. That night, they both slept in the living room. Lights on, knives on the table. They made a plan to leave the next morning. But the man wasn't done yet. At exactly 3:14 a.m., the same time Marcus had woken up the night before, they heard a loud, heavy knock on the front door. 3 times. Marcus peeked through the peephole. No one. But the doormat was soaked, like someone had just stepped out of the ocean. He didn't open the door. Instead, they packed their bags right then and there, got in the car, and as they drove away, Danielle looked back and screamed. The man was standing in the middle of the road, backlit by the car's red tail lights, still dripping wet and smiling. They didn't stop. Marcus later found an old forum post buried deep in an Outer Banks history group. It told the story of a man who had drowned near that same stretch of beach in the late 1800s. A lighthouse keeper who had gone mad after a shipwreck, disappeared into the dunes, and was never seen again. Except sometimes tourists swear they see a man in a coat, watching, waiting. Some say he's looking for his lost ship. Others say he's looking for someone to drag back into the sea.